cactus and succulent growers, I'm Lynn and welcome to Desert Plants of Avalon in the north of Ireland. And in today's video I'm going to be repotting my Gymnocalycium horstii cactus. And this cactus is particularly special because it's one that we got last year and it's from our late friend Peter. Peter was a wonderful member of the Cactus and Succulent Society here in Belfast, and sadly he passed over last year and his collection was given away to the other members in the society here, and we got his Gymnocalycium horstii. And the reason why it's extra special is because Peter, when he got the Gymnocalycium horstii a few years ago, he actually brought it to the meeting and said to me and Hans, he said, "What's this?" And he passed it over the table. He got us to ID it for him, so it's extra special. So we were very happy to get this cactus. So I hope you're going to enjoy the wonderful repotting. So here I am in my office where I'm going to be potting this up, and this is the Gymnocalycium horstii here. What a little beauty. And this particular cactus is often known as one of these spider cactus, and that's because of its curved spines, sort of a curve towards the body, sort of making it look a little bit like spider's legs. And this one, as I mentioned, was from my late friend Peter. So it's extra special, and I've got a couple of these already in my collection, one I've had for a very long time, and they produce beautiful pink flowers in the spring and summertime. As you can see here in this photo, gorgeous colour pink. And if you want to see a video of my my other Gymnocalycium horstii that was in beautiful bloom, then do check out a video of this beautiful plant in flower. I'll link that video up above, and do go and watch that after this one. This one hasn't flowered for me yet, but hopefully this year, and it's going to be good to give this a repot because I don't know if Peter had repotted this himself, so it's going to be good to check what the roots look like on this. And I've got a pot here, one of the nice sort of square pots. Took the next size up because I think it's going to need a slightly bigger pot, as you can see. Not much space around the rim there when it comes to watering. And I've made a soil mix up here of a bit of 3 equal parts of John Innes number 2 and mixed with perlite. I didn't have any, unfortunately didn't have any pumice or grit, so I've used perlite, and with a bit of horticultural sand as well, roughly about 3 equal parts. And I always like to make sure the soil is well draining, so it sort of is a loose soil, so the cactus dries out, the roots dry out quickly in between waterings. And whenever I repot a cactus, I never like to water straight away either. I like to leave it at least 10 days to 2 weeks to allow the roots to settle into the new pot. So if any of the roots have got disturbed, there's not going to be any problems of root rot and things like that. And this is still winter time at the moment anyway, still February, so I won't be watering this up anyway till April. And this is going to then be kept dry, and then till the April time when I start to water it. But it should hopefully come into bloom again, so very lovely. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Gymnocalycium horstii, should you have this cactus and want to know a little bit about the care. Now, it's a cactus from South America, and it's one that, in my opinion, likes to have a little bit more shade than other types of my Gymnocalyciums. These tend to go a little bit yellow if they're given too much sun. So you might read that it likes full sun, but in my opinion, and it's the same with my others in the polytunnel, they do like to have a bit more of shade. So either morning sun or late afternoon sun. They can take full sun, but they do tend to go a little bit yellow. So again, part sun is, I personally find, with this particular Gymnocalycium better. They're also said not to be so cold hardy even. You might read that they need a minimum temperature of 50°F, 10 Celsius. However, mine do absolutely fine for me in the polytunnel at 5 Celsius. As long as they're kept totally dry over the winter and they're not given any watering, then they can take 5C, in my opinion anyway. This is only my experience with them. I liked, obviously, as I mentioned, a well-draining, gritty cactus soil, so the soil dries out quickly in between waterings. Start to watering in the spring and the summer And I water every time the soil has totally dried out in the pots, and I keep totally dry from all the way through the winter time. I usually stop watering from early September, and I won't start to water then until the April time. And I like to fertilise with a bit of tomato feed, used at half the strength I recommend for tomatoes, with every sort of third to fourth watering I give them. And as I say, sometimes I say once a month, but it depends on how often you have to water. As I say, you just water every time the soil is totally dried out in the spring and summer. The tomato feed is high in potash, and it really does help to kick the flowers on the cacti. And if you want to know why I like to use tomato feed and how I do it, then do check out a video out I've made on why I like to use tomato feed for fertilising my cacti. And I'll link that video up above. Do go ahead and watch that after this one. And no, I've never had tomatoes yet. And yes, I do know that this particular Gymnocalycium does look like a tomato, but I assure you that it's not. So here we go then, a little bit of care about that. And what I'm going to be doing now is potting it up. Now I'm not going to bother with gloves because this one is very easy to handle. It's quite a smooth cactus, so I don't have to worry. If you're repotting very, very spiny cacti, you do need to protect your hands with either sheets of paper or cardboard, or sometimes a pot turned upside down just to handle it, because they can be very sharp. This one, no problem at all. So I think this is going to come out of the pot really easy. So I'm just going to squeeze it, lift it out. Aha, happy days. Great root system on there. And when you are repotting cacti, and I mention this all the time, do check that there's not signs of any beasties on the roots, such as root mealybugs or vine weevil or any other type of bugs on the roots. This is absolutely fine. And it does look like it's a bit of quite a different type of compost to what I'm using as well. Probably like a loose type of peat, which is good because it's not the hard compacted peat that you often see a lot of cacti potted up in when you buy them. I think possibly that this feels a bit spongy, so I'm going to be very careful with removing this. I do have to remove this soil because if it was my own soil that was on this, the roots are loose. I could just pot it up into a bigger pot and just put the soil in that, but I have to loosen it because it's different soil to what I'm using here, and I like to use my own mix. So what I like to do then is use a bit of a blunt end of a toothpick and just very carefully loosen it up here. I don't have to remove all of the soil off because these type of cacti as well, and the roots are loose, they'll have no trouble acclimatising into the new soil, but I do have to loosen it up a little bit here and get some of this old soil off, including this around here. And it's always good to do this. I always like to loosen it up if it's a cactus soil that this cactus is in, that's not my usual mix. So this is the first time repotting this, and I don't know what Peter would have used or whether he had potted this before, but it's not the worst type of soil anyway. Like I've seen with some, it's quite loose. Sometimes I can just loosen it with my fingers actually. So the roots, I do have to be very careful. See the roots, a lot of the old dried up roots will come away, which is quite normal, not a problem. So what I might do with this one anyway, until the start of the spring starts in April, I will, because I'm having to probably remove quite a bit of the roots. See how it comes away? I don't worry about that because cacti are great at rebuilding roots again in the spring when they come into active growth. This cactus is very fat and plump, so it's not going to hurt, and it will still come into flower in the spring. But because I'm having to remove quite a bit of the soil and some of the dried up roots are just coming away, I think I'm going to just keep this in my grow room for the rest of the winter, bring it back into the polytunnel in April, because I think it's going to help it to sort of come into a little bit more growth quicker with growing new roots, with a bit more heat here in the office, in my grow room. So that's just what I'm going to be doing. I won't put it back into the polytunnel. There we go. That's all the old soil. And I don't want to dig too much away. Just take it away at this sides here. There we go, that's as loose as I'm going to have it there. So I don't want to remove any more. I think that's going to be fine to get into the new soil. So here we go, putting this in here. And very carefully lifting this into there like that. And I can hold this up a little bit as well. when I put the soil around. I love these square pots, I think they look lovely. Tap it in so it all goes down the sides. And the reason why I'm going to be keeping this into the grow, I'm going to be putting it under the grow lights because I have had to take quite a bit of the roots came away with the older soil. So it's going to just help it come into growth that bit quicker and form newer roots with the heat in the office, my grow room here under the lights. But it's just my opinion, that's just what I want to do. I think it would have been okay anyway in the polytunnel, but I'm going to be keeping this dry until April. And when I like to if I have to repot cacti and some of the roots come away, then I'll be very, 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 very careful with the very first watering I give this cactus. So I'll probably just give it a very light watering in April. I won't go heavy with the watering because it's going to need to rebuild roots. And if I water this heavily, not that I ever do when I first start to water my cacti after winter anyway, but if I was to, and it's not able to take up water as fast because it's recovering with the roots, then you can have things like root rot and stuff like that. And there we go. Great. Happy days. Tap the pot. On the label, Gymnocalycium horstii from Peter. Happy days. So I hope you enjoyed that little repotting. As I say, it's an extra special Gymnocalycium horstii because it was from our late friend Peter. And if you haven't done already, then don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell. Do follow me on Facebook, Insta and Twitter at Desert Plant of Avalon, and check out my website desertplantofAvalon.com for lots of blogs on there, what I'm getting up to, and also lots of care tips on how you can grow your cacti and succulents. I want to wish you all a fantastic cactus powered